We done with the 90s. I'm late. I'm way late. I'm months late. But hey, NBA season about to end. I need some content, baby. I'm gonna do my own videos, but I'm also still be watching and reacting to other videos, man. So shout out to Jimmy High Roller for this video. It's called We Done with the 90s. This is when they watch the clips of the 90s, the trash highlights, and be like, bro, this is what y'all was talking about? Boy, where you been? It's TeeJay, the artist. You rock with me. You are the smartest. And we're back with another video, man. Thank y'all for 1,000. We are now up to 1,030 or something like that, bro. Let's keep it going, bro. My next goal is 5,000 and eventually 100,000, cause I want that plaque. I'm gonna put that plaque somewhere. It's gonna be dope. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's get into the video. Could you turn me up in the headphones a little bit?
Brothers, we are in the midst of a civil war. The age-old debate of past versus present has reached critical mass, and sides have been taken. A revolution is taking place, and we're losing good men. Old school versus new school.
Which one are you taking? 90s, 2000s, 2010s, or today's game, the 2020s? Which one you taking? I'm taking the 2000s. I'm taking Vince, Kobe, AI, Shaq, Tim Duncan. That's the era I'm taking. I don't know about the rest of y'all. That's the era I'm taking.
Back in the day versus modern day. A story as old as time itself. I tried to ignore this bloodbath, but just when I thought things couldn't get any worse.
Those are highlights.
It all got so much worse.
We done with the 90s.
We done with the 90s. Film of NBA games from the 80s and 90s coming to light, showing that the good old days were in fact not that good.
Oh my God.
Whole time, the punishing defense
Oh, is he okay?
of legend was actually just a bunch of plumbers camping out in the paint looking for someone to hack.
Oh my
Shots
God.
clanking off the backboard, players running around aimlessly, wreaking havoc, and worst of
He was rolling down there like that Campbell soup commercial. All right, I ain't gonna pause that much because it's a long video.
Aimlessly wreaking havoc. And worst of all,
I ain't gonna stop it too much.
Jordan, the supposed greatest basketball player
Michael Jordan
of all time, didn't even have a left hand.
There's no way Jordan could dribble with his left hand, or no?
What is going on? Have we been lied to about basketball in the 80s and 90s? Are we really done with that era of hoops? Or are we being deceived by lowlights, misinformation, and cherry-picked clips? Well,
I will say this: we do make our takes and our opinions on basketball depending on the highlights we watch. A lot of this stuff, they be like, oh yeah, Magic used to do that. Did you watch a Magic Johnson basketball game? Be honest.
Oh, I think I've got an answer. And some of y'all ain't gonna
like it. Jimmy High Roller. Shout out Jimmy High Roller, man. Skipping.
We done with the 90s. 5 simple words that have completely divided fans of the NBA. I've seen well thought out video essays, hard-hitting analysis,
triangle
testimonies
offense
from past and present players talking about their experience in the league and how it's changed over the years. And none of those things managed to do what these 5 simple words have done in just a week. Soon enough, the clips came rolling in of players from that era dribbling off their feet, throwing up air balls, and putting together moves that you might see at your local high school's JV game. So, for whatever it's worth, here is my long-winded take on this whole discussion.
I will say this: they did used to have like 6-7 rounds of basketball, 6-7 rounds of draft, like the NBA draft. 6 or 7 rounds of the NBA draft. Like there's only 15 people on the roster. Why are we in the 7th round? I don't know. You can fact check me. It was a lot of rounds though. MJ. We found the tapes.
I want to begin by saying what this discourse has taught me more than anything else is that NBA fans today never actually took the time to go back and watch games of the past. Brothers, I have been harping on this for years, begging for fans of the game, whether you are new or have been watching for years, to just go back and watch full games. Not highlights, not clips. Full-length games.
I literally just said that.
Of eras from the past. And after seeing this discussion devolve into where it is today, it is clear to me that most people never take the time.
They don't watch them old games.
Fans have this sort of awakening as they're watching films of these old games, as if the footage was buried or lost, and it's finally being unearthed for the world to see. It's been right here on YouTube for the past 15 years.
Yeah, you can watch any game you want.
Tell me the same fans who
you can watch any game you want. Just type it in the year, and it's gonna pop up.
Chime in with a full-blown thesis on the GOAT debate, never spared the time to even watch the games they were referring to. I guess that does explain a lot. Now, I'd like to think I'm somewhere in the middle on this whole discussion. I have said on multiple occasions
turn down a little bit.
Today's NBA are simply more skilled than players of the past.
That's true.
In bigger stat line.
That's true. Everybody is a lot more skilled players now than back then.
And higher point totals than ever before. It's not the defense that has gotten
worse. Jordan Poole.
The offense that has gotten better. You know, but I also have an appreciation for the greats that came before and how incredible some players of past eras were. In fact, I almost feel like I'm hallucinating.
Get it out.
This 90s basketball slander campaign unfold in front of my eyes. It feels like everyone's perception on the age-old debate changed literally overnight. I know that's not the case, but after seeing all of this play out, it sure feels that way.
Lord have mercy, boy. Are we done with the 90s? I don't know.
But today, I'm not just gonna show you some
Muggsy
or unhinge this narrative even
further.
I'm
Starberry.
Real film. And proof of how we might actually be done with the 80s and 90s. And of course, if Michael Jordan really had no left hand. Spoiler.
Okay.
He did.
Thank you. I was about to say there's no way that Michael Jordan did not have a left hand. Don't do Mike like that. Come on. Teach me something. The game has evolved a lot.
I've been an advocate for the modern players are better than players of the past movement for quite some time now.
Minute in the minute.
As crazy as it is for younger fans to say Michael Jordan was trash, it's just as absurd for older.
Okay, that take is crazy. Michael Jordan will beat Jaylen Brown in today's game is wild. NBA was better in the 80s and 90s. I will respect that one more than Michael Jordan will be Jaylen Brown. You could at least say Michael Jordan will be who's the best shooting guard right now? Say one of them. But Jaylen Brown, that's crazy. Jaylen Brown getting paid a lot of money too, though. Who would Michael Jordan be? Anthony. Duh.
Fans to say the game has
Ant-Man.
And gotten better over the
Marcin Gortat was incredible in the pick.
All this debate really is. Young
and
fans
roll with the Wizards.
Fans, or
hey, he yammed that bitch. Yeah, yeah, there go Jordan right there.
Players today are much
spin
better
move
than they were in the 80s and even the 90s. Specifically,
watch your head under there. Hey, ooh,
today better than it was in the past.
Oh my gosh, mean mug.
With the spacing, the shot making, the emphasis on offense,
LaMelo Ball
has made the depth across the NBA today just way ahead of where it was
Donovan
in the 80s and the 90s.
Mitchell.
There was, without exaggeration,
watch out.
guys in the NBA
Damn.
in the 80s and 90s that were
they just started fighting.
Rosters just to accumulate fouls and sit in the paint and
that is true. They just sit there and fight.
Were offensively inept, and that was okay because their role was not to create offense. But
it wasn't.
In today's NBA, where offense reigns supreme, there is no
oh my god.
Players. Now you
could he said fuck that.
watch film of games
oh my god.
From this era and see just how limited.
We done with the 90s. What the fuck was that?
The skill sets of
I'm not gonna I might pause, but I'm not gonna rewind.
The shot making, for the most part, was limited to set jumpers, slashers coming downhill for layups, and big men trying to muscle their way to a bucket down low in the midst of what appears to be a wrestling match.
Look at him.
Player off guard with the double team, and they immediately pick up their dribble.
Look at that.
Like
didn't know it.
Turning their back to the
because they can't dribble with the other hand.
Instead of creating space off the dribble.
Oh, because they don't want to get ripped.
Looking down at the ball.
Oh my gosh.
Fast break was very common in this era. And these aren't lowlights or cherry-picked incidences. This is just what the game looked like 35 years ago. But even without film, nearly every metric suggests modern players are more capable of players in the past. Free throw percentage was worse, three-point percentage was worse,
of course,
turnover percentage was higher, they used to shoot more free throws but still ended up with far less points. Now, this is not to say that this era of hoops was trash. That's just disingenuous and flat out wrong. These were the best players in the world at the time. It was just simply not as good as what it is today.
Okay.
But maybe there's another layer to this that needs to be factored in to really understand
What the hell?
why these players were not as skilled as the players of today.
I'm telling you why. The draft. You can't do that.
Now, despite this being a very relevant topic for years, the idea of rule changes and how these changes have affected the game still remain a mystery to some.
What the hell is y'all? What the hell is y'all doing?
The rules of their era. The first step to discover
What is that?
is to watch.
What the hell was that? You know what? I'd be lying. I said I wasn't gonna do this, but what the fuck was this? In the NBA game?
Still remain a mystery to some. Players were a product of their era and the rules of their era. The first step to discovering greats of the past is to watch film of them play. The next step is to gather and understand the context of the film you are watching. When you see a 6'9" Magic Johnson go flying down the court with what looks like kind of a stiff dribble, you may think the man has no bag. But my friends, Magic Johnson did have a bag. But the rules in place at the time only allowed him to reach so far into it before he got called for every violation in the rule book. Consider the fact that any move where your hand wasn't completely on top of the basketball was considered a carry. No zero steps, no gather steps. You get 2 steps and anything more.
Oh, they just called that a travel? That was a Euro step.
The travel. No backward shuffles to create separation. No lunging into players to draw
another
fouls.
Euro?
A clip of Danny Ainge hitting Kevin McHale with a hezzy in the mid-80s. And the man thinks he just witnessed witchcraft.
But when practice sessions were completed, some of the most competitive competition began.
That's not a double dribble. That was definitely a hesitation.
Here's some more clips of.
Wow. He said that's a double dribble. Where was that? He just hit that boy with a hezzy.
Players getting called for travels and carries, doing moves
Euro.
that are very typical and allowed in 2024. 90% of the moves you see today, the very method most players generate their offense, would be called for some sort of violation 40 or 30
Now that's a carry though.
years ago.
His hand was under. That's a carry. Yeah. That's another carry.
The rule
Push off.
are real,
Another carry.
of NBA history.
Oh my
You can
God.
literally look them up. The game got looser, players grew up and shaped their game around these looser rules, and now they have free reign to let their basketball bag run wild. But that's kind of the point.
Mitty and the bitty.
Players of the past didn't grow up practicing 25-footers. They didn't work on a dozen.
That too. Back in the day, there was like, you want to play? You big enough? All right, let's go play. They didn't practice coming up. These dudes these days, they got trainers when they like 6. Look at them kids over there. They here for a basketball camp.
And moves to create separation.
Ooh.
They played in offensive systems that focused on the team, the collective. Schemes and sets that resembled something closer to college basketball, where ISO possessions were few and far in between.
Yeah, ain't nobody has skill like that.
Arsenal to counter these situations. The rules of the time limited their game, which resulted in them having a more limited skill set than players today. If Larry Bird grew up with a 3-point line, he might have been the greatest long-range shooter ever. But he didn't. And as a result, he didn't shoot a lot of threes and he wasn't as efficient as the best shooters today. We can sit here and assume these players of the past might be as capable as players today if they were playing under the same rules and conditions. But they didn't. And I don't think we should assume that. The fact is they played in a different time and they became a product of that time. But that's not to
Orlando Magic
say the game was trash back then, or that the superstars of these eras couldn't compete in today's league.
This was a long time ago.
Now, as time goes by, I think it's easy to forget just how long ago 1980 was.
How long?
44 years ago, if my math is correct, which is in fact a very long time ago. In 1985, Magic Johnson won an NBA title, Larry Bird won the league MVP, and Michael Jordan won Rookie of the Year. That was 39 years ago from today, which is the same exact amount of time that has passed from that 1985 season to the year the NBA was founded in 1946.
Okay. It don't seem okay. I understand it now. They was just finding new stuff in the 80s. Okay.
Look at these clips. Do you think these players could compete with the likes of Bird, Magic, and Jordan?
Hell no.
Let me answer that for you. No. But take the best players of the 80s and 90s, and could they compete in today's league?
Compete, yes. Yes, they can. They can. Put 80s and 90s best team together, put them on. Yeah, they can. Yeah.
Absolutely. Give these guys some credit. Watching this today is
Hey.
the equivalent of watching this in the 80s. And yet this product is vastly closer to the basketball we see today than this product was to what fans were witnessing in the 80s. In fact, we can use different superstars as sort of a cross-generational measuring stick to see just how stiff the competition has been over the years. Larry and Magic played Michael, who played Kobe, who played LeBron, who has played the players of today. And nowhere down this timeline was there any real jump or fall off in production or level of competition from one era to the next. Each era had their stars. Those stars crossed paths with stars of other eras, and no one era was clear-cut ahead of the other. If the 80s were so bad, then why did players of the 90s have to wait for those guys to get old and retire to have a shot at winning?
Ooh, that's a bar. That's a bar. Because Jordan didn't start winning until Larry got old. He played Magic in his first championship, but everybody said that team was old and James Worthy got hurt. Isaiah and them, they got a winning record over Jordan. They in that bridge, that 88, 89, 90. That's that bridge over. Okay, that's a bar.
And if the 90s were so bad, then why did players of the 2000s not win until those guys retired?
That's another bar. Another bar. And then it's the same thing for the next. Why the 2000, they were still there before the 2010 could get up. It's a bar.
We don't need to assume that adjacent eras could compete with one another because we actually saw it. MJ struggled with some of the guys that came before him. Shaq struggled against Hakeem, and Kobe struggled against MJ. LeBron struggled against guys like Duncan and Dirk. And players of today have struggled to get past some of the
old
players
heads
in the league who are a product of the previous era.
Until this year. Until this year, all the old heads was gone now, so it might be the bridge here right here.
Now, what we shouldn't do is jump 3 or 4 eras at a time, ignoring entire decades of evolution and saying the game back then was better or even as good as it is today. At a certain point, the knowledge and wisdom that comes from actually witnessing decades of NBA history, like some older fans have, becomes skewed and watered down by nostalgia and a generational bias. Superstars are superstars because their game transcends the era they played in, but they also played in an inferior league. These two ideas are not mutually exclusive. And although generational talents of the past would do just fine today, this same logic does not apply to the vast majority of the league throughout the 80s and 90s.
Oh my goodness. When did the NBA become not trash? Trash, not trash. First of all, don't call my boys trash. Orlando Magic, we lit. Don't do us like that.
We're inferior to today's league, and the 90s were inferior as well. When did the NBA become not trash? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Ironically, I think there's a pretty clear distinction to the skill set of players before Michael Jordan hit his peak and after. For example, the early 90s and late 90s, although being in the same decade, were massively different in play style and skill set. Think for a second about the fact that Magic Johnson was still in his prime in the early 90s, and Allen Iverson.
Wait, did Magic Johnson dunk on somebody? Oh my goodness, AI.
In less than 10 years, basketball became a massively different game. By the late 90s, the players who grew up watching Jordan fly through the air and massive defenses were in the league and were reshaping the role that perimeter players played. Guys like Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, Ray Allen,
White Chocolate,
Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady,
2000s, baby.
These guys came into the league around the same time and were products of what they saw in his career. Players with a skill set that more closely resembles what we see today.
Oh my God!
Did to the skill set
not Jason Kidd with a dunk.
And even early 90s. This is where I think most fans might make the distinction of when the league really took a leap, not in competitiveness, but
it's
rather play style. You can go back and watch these guys play, and it's not too different than watching an NBA game today. Or you can point to the shift in play style that happened in the late 2010s.
Oh, gotcha, way.
Steph Curry
Bro,
redefined what makes a great
Steph used to cook Chris Paul. Oh my gosh.
championship caliber player, and the league adjusted to this new three-point heavy perimeter focused style of basketball. Similar to Jordan, the kids who watched what Steph was doing in the mid-2010s emulated that style of play, tailored their games to it, and are now in the league doing things that only
get saucy
Steph
with
could
it.
do a decade ago. So if we're done with the 80s and 90s, where can we look
Step.
back and no longer apply this air tax on these players? Most fans would agree that the turn of the century is where the
that was all over
era of
Dwight, too.
hyper-skilled players began. You can say objectively that this era was not trash, and most
Watch
players
out.
of this generation would do just fine in today's
Oh yeah,
league.
AI.
But if that is the case, then modern NBA fans.
Oh my God! Don't bring in Wemby. Don't bring Wemby in this. Leave him out of it. Lord, leave Wemby out of this. He that's an alien.
And they might not even know.
Look, he just put the ball between the man's leg, bro. Not yet. Oh Lord. Don't bring him in it yet. Steph. We done with the 2010s and the 20s?
And a new generation of NBA fans claim our favorite players, the guys we grew up watching, are not as good as the players of the future. What will you have to say? Right now, there is no one in the world who can shoot like Steph Curry.
Nobody.
But inevitably, there will be. And eventually, there will be many players who can shoot like him. His records will fall, his percentages won't.
Listen, this is gonna be listen. When this start happening, it's gonna be weird, bro. Cause I remember them saying like Larry Bird was one of the great 3-point shooters in the game. But then start moving down the list, all the way down the list. You like, is he?
Look is good through the lens of 2040, and although his legacy will be cemented, his actual game will be put into question. And based on the arguments I'm hearing today on why past players were trash, we will have nothing to say that will change their minds.
Hello.
We know that Curry was the first to do what he's doing.
Steph.
He is a pioneer of the modern NBA. We have context to back up our claims. But if we aren't willing to hear older fans out today, what makes us think younger fans will hear us out in the future? Mark my words. There will be a day when young fans will go back, watch film of LeBron, and say he couldn't compete with players of the future. In fact, it's already happening. Fans saying he has no bag. Younger players putting up bigger numbers than he
I have heard that they said that LeBron don't got no bag. Like, okay.
ever did. Skill sets a bit deeper with games that look more polished. It's all fun and games now to
Watch your head under there.
past eras. But our day will come too, and it ain't gonna be pretty.
Oh my God.
But Giannis could only run and dunk.
Ah.
Trash. Y'all had a dude who couldn't get 2 feet off the ground running the whole league. You can scramble to pull up clips and show the numbers, but their minds will already be made up.
That's
This is
true.
why I think it is so important to have genuine, thought-out discourse about the game if you're truly a fan of it. But to all of the older fans out there, you kind of started this whole thing. For years, we heard y'all badmouth modern players, saying the league is soft, players today couldn't compete back then. Back in my day, real men played the game. Yup.
Facts. You know what's crazy about it? This is my take on that old head stuff, saying the defense was this and it was way tougher. And no. When somebody was good and cooking you, y'all just fouled the hell out of them. You didn't guard them. You didn't play better defense. You hit them. Is that what? You getting cooked. All right, he ain't gonna cook me this time. Why? Because he just caught an elbow and gotta go sit down. Even Shaq say it all the time. He say, "Oh, if he cooking you, just send him my way, and I'm a hard foul him." That's not defense. What?
Y'all cannot be mad that some fans are done with the 80s and 90s when y'all never even gave modern basketball a chance.
True.
Sure, a lot of fans never took the time to go back and watch the greats of the past, but let's be honest for a second. Older fans don't watch games today. They catch a stray clip on Facebook of LeBron flopping and like an
And run with it.
disgruntled old men, they just start firing away in the comments, agreeing with one another. Y'all asked for this. I've been watching the NBA since the mid-2000s. Kobe, D-Wade, McGrady, Iverson, Shaq, Nash. Those
Me
were my
too.
guys. But I can acknowledge those greats and say they were incredible while also acknowledging that
The new
version of
guys.
the NBA as a whole was not as refined or as good as it is today.
Look at
Now,
Dirt.
will I be able to make that distinction in 20
LeBron
years
James.
until snot-nosed brat tells me my glorious king was trash? I'm not so sure.
Uh-oh. What you got to say? Did Michael Jordan really have no left?
No, it's time to once and for all take a real close look at this accusation that Michael Jordan did not have a left hand. I felt like I was having a bad dream when I first saw this claim, but unfortunately, I was not.
Put in the comments, does Michael Jordan have a left hand? Yes or no?
I feel like no one actually believes this. This is just some high-level trolling. But in an effort to stop...
It's not using his left hand. I think it's dribbling left. I don't know if it's layups.
...this nonsense from spreading any further, I have...
Well, there you go.
no chance but to take these accusations seriously.
There you go again.
So I selected 8 random games ranging from Michael Jordan's rookie season all the way up to the mid-90s, and play by play gathered all of his possessions throughout these games, charted when he went to his right, when he went to his left, and what those possessions resulted in.
Oh,
And
Lord.
here is what I found. Jordan made a move with his left hand or his right hand 227 times.
Okay.
Of those 227 moves, 121 of them were with his right hand, and 106 of them were with his left hand.
Okay.
Of the 121 right-handed moves, he passed up or got fouled on 54 of them. So I didn't bother charting those.
Yeah,
65 of
erase
these
that.
moves resulted in a shot, in which he made 63% of them and
Okay.
only turned the ball over 2 times.
Okay.
Now, moves that he made with his left hand resulted in a pass or him getting fouled 45 times, while 55 of these left-handed moves ended up in a shot, in which he made 51%, and 6 moves resulted in a turnover. So, based on this data, Jordan was definitely more comfortable going.
I mean, yeah, you could be comfortable, way more comfortable going one way than the other, but they made it seem like he ain't have no left hand at all.
Especially near the rim and even on mid-range jumpers. He struggled a bit in comparison to his right whenever he pulled up off of a left-handed dribble. But overall, Jordan went to his left 47.
Oh, wait. Didn't he oh, no, he dribbled left, pushed the dude, and then, okay.
% of the time. And although it was his weaker hand, he was still above league average even while going to his left. But 8 games and 350 minutes of basketball is a relatively small sample size. So I looked into it further and found this.
What you found?
A detailed breakdown of Michael Jordan's shot chart and shot tendencies in 3 seasons from 1990 to 1992. 120.
Hey, boy. You deep diving, bro. This why your page is lit, bro.
6 games and over 4,800 minutes in total, tracking exactly what Michael did on the court for 3 seasons. And here's what the data shows. In total, Michael made 1,074 moves in isolation, going either to his right or to his left hand.
Okay.
48% of those moves were with his right hand, and 52% of those moves were with his left
Got
hand.
y'all ass.
When going to the right, Michael shot 61.7% on
What if it's
410
better?
shots with 15 turnovers, resulting in 1.38 points per possession. When going to his left, Michael shot 61.3% on
Basically the same
421
thing.
shots with 36 turnovers, resulting in 1.
Way more turnovers. That sound like a dribbling problem. That don't sound like, that sound like a dribbling problem. But he's still, the field goals and the points per possession is basically the same. That sound like he couldn't dribble that,
0.31 points per possession.
But
so even with
hey,
a much
it don't matter.
larger sample size, Michael not only had a left hand, he went to it just as often as he went to his right, and was nearly as proficient with his left as he was with his right. Now, for some context, throughout this 3-year span, Michael made on average 4.4 left-handed isolation moves, or in this case,
game.
isolation possessions, that resulted in 1.31 points per possession.
Ow!
Now, here are some prolific scores from this season and their overall tendencies and efficiency in isolation.
Oh,
Keep in
ISO
mind,
ball.
This data includes
Bron
both
down at the bottom
right-handed
'cause he don't
and
ISO like that.
left-handed
He a
moves from
team
his
player.
players. And now here is Michael Jordan.
Damn.
With just his left hand. So,
Just his left hand only.
I'd say contrary to what has now become popular belief, Michael Jordan had a left hand.
Dang.
And I cannot believe we had to dig into the data to come to this conclusion.
Damn. What else? We not done with the 80s and
I think
90s.
the overall idea that the 80s and 90s were a far less skilled time in the NBA compared to today is probably fair. I mean, you'd be crazy to think the game hasn't evolved in 4 decades.
Wait, y'all see my posters and stuff? I got Vince, Braun, AI stepping over Tyron, Harlem Globetrotter. That's low key my wife's cousin. I got Michael Jackson, got Kobe, got Braun, got Jordan when he was in college. Got Russ, then I got us with the wife who got the caricature. That's when I had shorter hair though. We gotta go back and get another one. I just felt like saying that real quick. And I got the 1000 right here because when I hit 1000, she did this for me. I was like, you know what I'm saying? That's wifey though. All right.
But to say the league was trash back then is just wrong. I think more than anything, it's the style of play and the way basketball games would unfold back then that really throws some fans off when they go to watch film of these old games. It's like looking at a box score from the mid-2000s and thinking everyone sucked because the games finished with final scores in the 80s. But the players weren't bad. It was just a different game back then. It was slower, more methodical, more team and scheme based than it is today. And similarly, I think you could say the 80s and 90s had its fair share of bad basketball. But that doesn't mean all the players were bad, especially the superstars of those eras. That was just the state of the game they were playing in. I think some older fans have a skewed perception of how good the game was back then, but I also think they just genuinely liked that style of ball regardless of the evolution of the league. In 20 years, there could be a dozen players around the league that shoot like Steph Curry, but I doubt we will hold the same appreciation and affinity for those players as we did to the guy who pioneered this style of play and did it during the good old days. In the 90s, no one looked back at how the league was in the 60s claiming it was better. And so realistically, we shouldn't be looking back at the 80s and 90s claiming the league was superior than it is today, or even just as good for that matter. A lot of these ideas that favor modern basketball are becoming more mainstream as fans dive deeper into these topics and add context to narratives that have been floating around for decades. But I think this push to be done with the 80s and 90s is a bit overkill. We want to add context and nuance and knowledge to these discussions, not remove entire decades from it altogether. Sadly, I don't think any of this has or will change anyone's mind. This revolt against old school ball was either confirmation of what you already thought, or this entire discussion is just blasphemy to you. Are we done with the 80s and 90s? Maybe, but for the sake of the game and the greats that paved the way, I sure hope not.
Ooh, he crossed him. Hey man, you be doing your thing, bro. You be doing your thing, bro. Hey, if you made it this far, man, shout out to you, man. Hey, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I have more videos on the way. I'm going to be watching more Jimmy High Roller on this page as well. Like I said, the NBA season is coming to an end. We're about to start. Game 1 is all the way Thursday. You know what I'm saying? So I will be watching just about anything. Put in the comments what I should watch.